So welcome back, and I'd like to continue talking about Photo Voice. And here is a list of just random articles that I've seen on Photo Voice that have used Photo Voice. And there's so many. There's so many websites around Photo Voice now. There's so many research projects and different projects that are being done that use this method of using photography with data collection methods across populations and different topics, related to mental health, related to homelessness, related to cultural groups. It's just amazing, and it's really wonderful to read these articles because not only are you reading, but you're seeing what people are talking about. I'm going to give you just a few examples here. So that Yunnan project with peasant farm workers in the Yunnan province of China that Caroline Wong created, and how she created Photo Voice. Here are some pictures of what these women took of their daily lives. They had no idea what their lives meant to them. What was a day in their own lives, and just bringing out all these wonderful things. So the first picture shows these two little children, and what the person who took this picture said about this picture was, the older brother in this photograph is about 3 years old, and the smaller one is only 1 year old. During the busy season, adults have no time to watch the children. This older child is taking care of the littler one. And then the second picture, the meaning of this photo is, the woman in the rice paddy is pulling weeds. This field, belongs to her family. Managing the land is mostly her responsibility. So obviously, you see there are childcare issues that come up in both of these photographs, and you see what it means to work so hard in the fields when you have children in the Yunnan province. This woman, she's talking about how this woman is responsible for this rice paddy and pulling all the weeds and being responsible for all the land. But look what else she's responsible for. And her child is just laying there while she has to be a caregiver and take care of that. And throughout the book, you see these pictures. And some things that came from sharing these pictures, that third goal, bringing it to policy and decision makers, was that they started having more opportunities for childcare in these communities. They started having more opportunities for water systems and schools for children, schools for girls, that girls could actually go to school. So a lot comes from not only talking about people's lives, but showing their lives. And I don't think a lot of the people who took the pictures thought that they were taking pictures of anything special. They weren't complaining. They were just taking pictures of what a day in the life is for the people living in this area. So that's the power of Photo Voice. Another picture is here, and it was another thing that Caroline Wong worked on in Flint, Michigan. And this is from children who took pictures for this book called Strength to Be. And you see the picture, and the child who took the picture wrote, I can tell that the bus I ride is always different because the bullet holes are always in different windows. So very powerful. In my own work with cancer survivors in North Carolina, I asked people to tell me what did they do to get their strength back after going through a mastectomy. And so what I got back was this picture of a dirty, just a regular basketball goal. And if you saw just the picture, you would not know what it was. You would not know it's anything more than a basketball goal, or maybe she played basketball. But when you read the meaning behind this picture for this woman, it becomes so much more intense. I had a basketball goal, so I would just go out and just work my arm with the basketball until one day I was out there and realized, hey, I can stretch my arm again. And I was just jumping. I could raise my hand again like everybody else. And it was kind of hard for me because I had a 3-month-old and I couldn't hold him because he was too heavy. He was just too heavy for my arm. My mom would catch me sometimes trying to hold him, scooting him on the bed over here or something. And I was like, Mom, he's my baby. It's a lot to think about. Now, Miss Sweet was in her early 20s, dealing with having had a mastectomy and not being able to hold her own child. So this basketball hoop becomes very different when you look at it, when you know the meaning embedded in the picture. I asked several people during a workshop I was running to give me pictures on what they thought community health was. What is community health? And here are some of the pictures that I got that, none of them have to do with a healthcare facility. They look at transportation and safety, being able to convene, having news, being able to protest, having access to healthy foods. So even if there's not going to be a huge amount of discussion, it's really great to use photography for people to share what they see, not just what they want to talk about when they're giving you information. Another example is working with the PhD program in clinical psychology, clinical and community psychology between UAF and UAA here in Alaska. And I asked my students to tell me what it's like to eat a meal as a grad student. And I got such interesting information. One person here talked about how lonely it can be. And she said, "It seems I'm always in a hurry when I'm taking my meals. This is very difficult to realize, as I'm a person that enjoys eating and enjoys using meal time to socialize and spend time with my family and friends. In the last few years, it seems I must eat my meals in a hurry. Even my dog wonders why I eat so fast and stand up and quickly leave to do something else." So that was on the left side. On the right side, so that person was from the University of Alaska Anchorage, which is a very urban area compared to University of Alaska Fairbanks, which is quite a semi-urban but sort of a rural setting. So this picture on the right says, "This picture was taken after a recent potluck music gathering at our house and is somewhat common occurrence. We frequently look for excuses to host good food, music, and people." So when we have these pictures, this idea of the solo versus potluck cultures of the two universities, it was really interesting, because it wasn't just in these two photos, it was across many photos that we saw that in a place that had all these opportunities, because it was more urban, the students tended to kind of disperse and go to different places. Where in Fairbanks, which doesn't have a ton of opportunities, people tend to bring people together in their homes and share meals together, and potluck culture is a huge thing here. And so just from the small little Photo Voice project, we were able to kind of even meet the needs of our students in different places by trying to set up meals that could be shared at UAA, because they really wanted to have these potlucks, but they just weren't doing it. And then finally, with classes, I asked students to just take a picture of what their nightstand looked like, because I think of a nightstand as like, your protection. It's what you want when you're finally laying down at night. And so people brought in pictures of their nightstands, and we were able to theme out these things like you did with your feeling safe pictures. So we found that some people just didn't have a nightstand. They often used they either had nothing, or things were on their floor, or it was on a windowsill. Some were very parent-oriented. Everything was for their kids to come in and keep themselves busy while the parents slept, or just hang out there. There were some that were work versus work-free zones. So some that were technology-free, they didn't let themselves have their phones or anything at their nightstand, whereas others had computers and other things there. Some things were very sentimental versus just things you need at night, like Kleenex or medication or a lamp. There were also frustrations, the idea that they had stacks of books, that they'd had the same stack of books for years, because they just never got around to, doing this social reading or this casual reading or things that they wanted to do. So one thing that we did notice is nobody had clocks anymore. Whereas a nightstand used to have an alarm clock, now we do have our phones if we keep our phones by us. So even the nightstand, what a nightstand is, could give you an idea into people's lives. So in Photo Voice training, we do stress that people shouldn't worry about taking beautiful or perfect pictures. when I started working with the women in North Carolina, they didn't even want to be in the project because they said, I don't even know how to take a picture. I'm not good at photography. I wasn't looking for that. The goal is for them to take pictures that help them express themselves, their experiences, and their personal story. While the picture is important, more important is the embedded meaning or significance. So I'd like to go back to that picture I showed you in the beginning of this week. That's just talking about photo voice. So this is that picture I showed you, and it has garbage. And think about what you thought of that picture and what you saw. But this is what the meaning was. She said, I had a hard time financially. First of all, I'd gotten laid off from my job and I had insurance, but once they laid me off, I would have to pay $150 a month to have that insurance. So I didn't have the money to hold on to it. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had been saving cans for before breast cancer, but after I got breast cancer, it was more important that I saved them financially. So that's the reason I saved the cans, financially for my medication. And the cans were some support. Friends and people that heard about my saving the cans, they gave me cans to support me. So it's not a beautiful picture, but it just tells so much when you know the meaning behind it. So I'm going to stop here from now, and then we'll continue with our next set of slides.